At the beginning of December, something crazy happened. Two games were released within 24 hours of each other, both free to play, both on Steam, and both featuring almost no original components in any part of their design. But if imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, which of these games best glazes its inspiration? Which one is the freest to play? And most importantly, which one of these clones is actually the best game? First up is the first release, Delta Force. This standard military first-person shooter has 3 modes for you to choose from right from the main menu. Let's start with this one, the single-player Black Hawk Down story, which actually isn't in the game yet because, as we all know, the best way to release a game these days is incomplete. However, this is technically an open beta, and even though the game has no early access label and is totally open to you handing over your hard-earned cash, you have to pretend like this is all just for testing. So now we can move on to our second option and the first cloned experience, Warfare. This 64-player all-out battle for control points should be familiar to you because it's Battlefield 2042. And just like the ongoing mediocrity of that Battlefield franchise, you'll dive into this squad-based chaos only after you spend some time exploring and equipping one of a collection of nearly distinct hero-soldier characters that each has unique special abilities. Whether you're picking the medic with his magical healing squirt gun and smoke drones, the support with his light machine gun and sonic disruption drone, or the sniper with her bow featuring electric shock arrows and miraculous revealing arrows, you'll never feel like you're too far from the Battlefield experience. Once in game, you'll be shuffled into a squad that serves as glorified spawn points, but also have the ability to will you back from death just by making intimate eye contact and holding your hand. You and your other 31 teammates will run haphazardly in the battle to get shot from every conceivable angle and distance while fighting to defend control points that are converted to your possession with your mere existence beside them. You'll also be able to roll out, repair, and summon from the sky itself various trucks, tanks, and vehicles to absolutely trash your exposed enemies and rack up kills just like every other Battlefield game in history. But not every map is vehicle focused. Sometimes you'll get to squeeze yourself into familiar choke points with enough hot lead flying through the air to drop a few IQ points just by breathing in the vicinity. But if the bullets, random explosions, or strange drone swarms don't take you out, you'll surely choke to death on the thick smoke that makes every fight feel like a trip to Silent Hill. But this smoky situation may be the only real difference between this and its EA franchise inspiration. Yet there is one more game mode pulled straight from the catalog of games that already exist, Operations. Here you'll play yet another extraction shooter where you'll join a squad of 2 other people, drop into a location full of buildings, brain-dead AI characters, and a handful of other squads in order to shoot, loot, and poop your pants when you get shot by them out of nowhere 45 seconds into the match. Your goal is to get as much valuable junk and equipment to keep your character armored and alive while ultimately scrambling to the extraction zone and standing around until you're teleported out of the area, completing your bog-standard extraction experience. When you return to your home base, you can spend time looking at this environment of level-unlocked interactive locations, each of which will help you in your pointless journey into the murder zone to collect more garbage and satisfy your hoarding desires. But if you're looking for your murder zone to be a little more animated and built with that familiar hero shooter flavor that you've come to know and got bored with 5 years ago, you can follow up your Delta Force foray with Marvel Rivals. Here you'll venture forth into the historical representation of Overwatch's 6 vs 6 restriction-free competitive gameplay, where you'll once again fight on some eerily similar maps to capture control points and slowly push carts from one arbitrary location to another. With 33 heroes each fitting into tank damage and support roles, you'll take to the narrow pathways and streets, pummeling the sweet hell out of your opponents in an effort to get the upper hand and either move forward or defend your location. Except instead of original characters for which more porn has been made than normal media, all of these characters are from the Marvel universe and have a slightly lower ratio of porn. But what they do have in a higher ratio is characters with a focus on close-range melee skills, and that works because this game is almost entirely in third person. You'll be able to take heroes like Captain America, Thor, and even the Incredible Hulk right up next to people and bash, beat, and punch them into a ragdolled pulp because the chaos of a dozen characters flying and flipping around looks just fine in this wider field of view. All of your familiar and slightly less familiar heroic options have a collection of abilities that let them move faster, jump higher, attack in new ways, defend in weird ways, and heal one another from a steady onslaught of violence being delivered. And each has a special ultimate ability that will charge as you play to be released at the most strategically successful time, guaranteeing a win, or just whenever you panic and slam the button, accomplishing absolutely nothing at all. Marvel Rivals has plenty of characters that play much like Overwatch characters, like Iron Man being a knockoff Pharah and Star-Lord playing like a slightly floaty Tracer. But then they have someone that looks exactly like D.Va but doesn't really play like any Overwatch character at all, yet the Hulk is designed to play much more like D.Va, where on death you revert back to a scrawny Bruce Banner with a pistol that will fuck people up if you can both aim and not get obliterated. These comparisons and fakeouts are all over the place in the game, but the one place it separates itself the most is the character selection. Here you can pick from anyone at any time, but you're motivated to take advantage of a team-up system that combines various somewhat in-lore synergies to give the connected heroes bonuses and unique powers. These can make a huge difference in the outcome of any fight and coerce people into making compositions that make sense without even trying to strangle them with role cues. But if you don't want your wallet strangled, you may want to dive into what these games could actually cost you to play. Free-to-play games are usually free, but they all tickle your balls with enticing paid perks like cosmetics, faster leveling, and whatever bonus features that were quality tested to ensure that players enter their credit card information as fast as possible. Delta Force comes flying out of the gate into its open beta launch, ready to take your money in all of the standard ways you'd most likely give it. You'll of course have a lengthy battle pass for you to slowly unlock as you play the game, with the bare minimum trickle of free items and a whole deluge if you're willing to pay up for it. This patch features items and cosmetics of all sorts, including those that will make your characters look like BDSM clowns, but will potentially prevent that awkward clone scenario at the end of each match, which ironically was also stolen from Battlefield 2042. You'll also have skins for weapons, gadgets, and even vehicles, because nothing shows your combat readiness better than a neon blue rifle and a tank that looks like it's sponsored by Monster Energy drinks. But you'll also be able to get at those sweet cosmetics directly through a store where you can use your premium currency to look as good as possible while you're getting your ass obliterated on the battlefield. They'll even present you with some items in a special pre-rendered cutscene to show you how cool it could make you look if you too were pre-rendered. But what Delta Force asks for more than all the money you'd ever be willing to part with is your time. With page after page of login rewards, separate mini battle passes, and various tasks to be completed, you'll spend just as much time clicking through these prompts as you do fighting in the matches where you unlock them. Marvel Rivals kinda does the same thing with predictable daily, weekly, and event missions, along with pages of achievements and tasks to have you reading lore or just looking at things you probably don't care about for some imaginary points and rewards. You'll also have a battle pass, though this one gives you a tiny amount of agency over what you unlock and win with a tiered page system you'd probably recognize from Helldivers 2. There's not much in it, but what you will get is a heaping spoonful of cosmetic sprays, skins, emotes, and MVP animations for a few of the nearly 3 dozen characters you may or may not play. But if you wanted your dress-up time to be more customized, you'll have to head into the in-game store to pick up one of these delightful cosmetic bundles for $20 or $30 to make your Marvel character look just like they did in the latest Marvel movie everyone hated. But you can always grab one of the cheaper ones that transitions your character from the standard appearance to a brand new standard appearance, but with a gray hue. And you can even pay for the privilege of changing your name for only $5, making sure that only the most frivolous can justify making their name something incredibly stupid on a whim. Both of these games are everything you'd expect from a free-to-play clone. They give you the experience of tired old AAA games with a coat of fresh paint and don't require you to pay a dime for the opportunity, except maybe in the case of the campaign for Delta Force. They also both come from gigantic multi-billion-dollar Chinese conglomerates with NetEase and Tencent that may or may not be harvesting your data and spying on you for the government, but that's just part of the fun. But the most important question here is which one of these games is most fun and best justifies getting excessively and pointlessly aggressive over. Delta Force gives you a 2-for-1 deal, which since it's free isn't really much of a deal. I'm not really into extraction shooters, but what is available in this mode seems to be in line with what I've seen before and offers a lot of potential content that would keep people continuing in a loop that, to me, seems exceptionally stressful. The Warfare mode feels so much like a Battlefield game that while playing it, I sometimes forget that it's not. It has decent gunplay, interesting character abilities, reasonably well-designed maps, and that classic powerful vehicle experience that makes you an unstoppable force until you're suddenly dead from one of the few people that you didn't obliterate. It even has one of the most overly detailed and granular weapon customization systems that I'll probably never use to its full potential. Yet with its similarities, it falls short in many of the same places as the latest Battlefield entry, and it misses the mark even more with a severely limited number of maps, a shortage of vehicles and locations that actually justify their existence, and far less physical destruction than even the toned-down amount in 2042. With all of this, it ends up feeling decidedly mediocre, though with the non-existent price tag, a still healthy player base, and the promise of future content, there's a path aimed right at improvement if the developers choose to take it. Marvel Rivals, on the other hand, hit the ground running with a game that feels like it was developed and tested for nearly a decade. Perhaps because NetEase was the Chinese distributor of Overwatch for nearly a decade, but who knows? Yet this game has eaten up dozens of hours of my time as I climb to the heights of competitive matches and take my throne in the precise middle of the ranking system. The use of familiar characters and gameplay that has been thoroughly refined while walking that delicate line between totally accessible and a mountainous journey toward a lofty skill ceiling has already given it a huge multi-platform player base that it seems set to keep. If it does, it'll need to address some of the balance issues though. While the developers do seem aware of the propensity for players to flow toward the most effective characters, and players seem aware of the issue by banning the same characters in every match, their effort to resolve the issue seems a little soft at best. And I'm not sure why the season bonuses are persistent beyond the season, but 'tis the season. Whatever the case, Marvel Rivals still fills an Overwatch-shaped hole in my heart with Marvel characters I already know and appreciate, while also exposing me to some that I never really knew much about. With the nearly infinite number of Marvel characters to pull in and a ton of mechanics they can steal from Overwatch, as long as they don't trip over their own stupidity like Blizzard, they'll stick around while adding billions of dollars to the billions of dollars NetEase already has. And if you'd like to stick around and see more hot takes, warm satire, and tepid commentary about video games, like this video and check out more Abbreviated Reviews.